Geez, ladies and gentlemen, this is like my second time trying this because my last video hit its limit. But let me introduce myself again. Paris Reed here. Now, this is the Pokemon League Challenge, the Delphox Challenge that I entered into. Sadly enough, I didn't enter into the video game one, but I plan on doing that next week. This week, sorry. And I plan on, but this week, I entered into the trading card game challenge, and I won 4 times. The reason I didn't completely fill it out is because, well, I didn't have the time, and then didn't have the money to spend for being there for that many hours to participate. Now, the side effect of the Delphox Challenge is that for players that are competing in the TCG challenge, if you choose, before your attack, if you so choose, you could discard the 2 cards of the top of your deck, flip a coin. If you get heads, then your opponent's active Pokemon is now burned. That would seem useful, but not for my deck, and you're about to see why. Alright, now, my deck is running a very Pacific strategy, and it needs 2 Pacific cards to make it work very well. Hypnotoxic Laser, it poisons my opponent, but if I flip a heads or roll a heads, I get my opponent put to sleep as well. And then Shadow Triad, which allows me to take a Team Plasma card from my discard pile, which Hypnotoxic Laser just happens to be. I have 3 Hypnotoxic Lasers and 3 Shadow Triads. That's what, because I have to use them a lot. So, now, for more of the little things, I have a Rock Guard. Does 60 damage to the Pokemon that attacks the active Pokemon, or any Pokemon that it's attached to. It's an A-Specs, so I can only have 1 of them in my deck. Yeah, that sucks. But hey, you gotta work with what you got. And it works very well for my Pokemon. Now, look at this stack of trainer cards. Ooh, okay. So, let's get down to them. Energy Search allows me to search my deck for any energy, any basic energy of my choosing. Ultra Ball allows me to discard 2 cards from my hand and search my deck for any Pokemon I choose. Professor Sycamore, discard my hand and draw 7 cards. Energy Retrieval takes 2 energy from my discard pile. Skyla, search my deck for a trainer card of my choosing. Tyranno, draw 3 cards. Evo Soda, evolve a Pokemon that I have either on my bench or in my active zone, based on if I have its evolution in my deck at the time. N allows me to allows me and my opponent to shuffle our hands into our decks and draw for the same number of prize cards we have. Very good late game if I have more prize cards than my opponent. See that? See that? Rare Candy. I can immediately evolve a Pokemon from basic to stage 2 if I have its stage 2 in my hand at the time. Have 3 copies of that. Charon, basically the same as Tyranno, draw 3 cards. Here's what's going to make my Hypnotoxic Laser even more deadly. Verbank City Gem. If in play, my opponent takes 3 damage instead of 1 in between turns. Switch. This is a real lifesaver if I'm poisoned or have any ailment at all. Allows me to switch my active Pokemon with one of my Pokemon on my bench. Caitlyn, if I could take as many cards of my choosing from in my hand and put them on the bottom of the deck, and then draw for the same number of cards. Very useful, in my opinion. And this is a once-in-a-lifetime lifesaver for the deck. Lysander forcibly switches my opponent's active Pokemon with a Pokemon of my choosing. And that was the trainer cards. Jeez, thank God that's over. Energy cards. They say that if you have too many energy cards in your deck, then all you'll draw is energy cards. So my choice for this deck is to just have 6 steel energy. And this one is to just have 6 fighting energy. And then 1 double colorless energy. I know. But 1 is good enough for my deck, and you're about to see why. Now for the big news, the Pokemon. Here we go. It was tough to choose these Pokemon, but let me show you what makes them good for this deck. Let's start with what's really good and what most people would be more interested in. The EX cards, the rare cards. Skarmory has Joust. It does 30 damage, but when I hit my opponent, it allows me to discard force my opponent to discard their active Pokemon's tool card that's attached to them. And Tailspin Pile Driver. Oh man, if only that was a wrestling move. Forces my opponent's active Pokemon to take more damage based on how much damage that Pokemon already has on it, and does 80 damage normally, but it will do 40 more damage for how much damage my opponent has on them. And then there's another EX Pokemon new to my deck. It is called Terrakion EX. Yeah, that HP. Oh god, that HP. Okay. So, Rock Tumble does 50 damage, and it's not applied by any resistances. And Pump Up Smash does 90 damage, and if I have 2 basic energies in my hand, I can add them specifically to my Pokemon on my bench for my choosing. The only problem is that it has 3 retreat cost, and I don't like that. But hey, that's what Switch is for. Now then, let's get to this card. I only have 1 Voltorb in this deck, and it's not used for its attack or its evolution. I don't have its evolution in this deck, so therefore it's only there for its ability. Destiny Burst. And this card is specifically why I have Rock Guard. If I roll a heads, then my opponent takes 5 damage. But thanks to the Rock Guard, they'll take 110. Which I'm like, God, that's evil. And then I have 2 pairs of copies of Bisharp. Now, Bisharp has 90 HP. That's not all. It's horrible, but like, let me tell you. But this is why it's useful. It's here to stall for time. That's exactly why it has the move Wicked Jab. Does 20 damage normally, and flip a coin. If I get heads, my opponent's active Pokemon is now paralyzed. Now you see, if my opponent was asleep, thanks to Hypnotoxic Laser, and I was afraid that they might wake up on when it comes to their turn, the paralyzation will immediately make sure they can't retreat and they can't attack. The only thing that will be able to save them is if they had a switch card. Now, not yet. Okay, now I have 2 full evolutions of Haxorus. Haxorus is one of my favorite dragon types. In the card game, he's a destroyer of worlds. He has Dragon Axe, which does 40 damage times the number of steel energies that is applied to him. And he has another attack called Strike of the Champion. Needs a fighting energy and a steel type energy in order to be unleashed. However, if it hits a freaking Team Plasma Pokemon, then that Team Plasma Pokemon instantaneously dies, regardless of its HP. Yeah. And its second evolution, Fracture, has Paralyzing Gaze. Flip a coin. If heads, the defending Pokemon is now paralyzed. And then Dragon Claw, which I don't need to care about. Now then, this next Pokemon is what makes the deck extremely powerful. Now then, Conkeldurr, the Black and White series. It has 140 HP. Can be pretty much killed off by anything by basic. Well, I can say this for a fact. When I played in that league, it can definitely be killed off by a Hydreigon that has the ability to share its energy with anyone. But It's not there for its second move, Dynamic Punch, which does 60 damage normally, but if I flip a coin and gets heads, my opponent, it adds 40 damage onto that attack as well as confuses my opponent. But it's there for its first move, which needs only one fighting energy to be unleashed. It's called Wake Up Slap. Does 30 damage normally, but if my opponent is ailmented by anything at the time, Wake Up Slap will do 60 more damage. However, when it does Wake Up Slap, it also removes the special condition if they survive. So yeah, it's basically a double-edged sword, but I'm willing to let that slide for the damage. And that's exactly what makes this deck so good for me. Simon, if you're watching this is the deck I used when I was playing against the girl on my video. Now you understand how it works. And I might be playing with a different deck next time. But I don't know. Maybe I would want to actually battle with it and show it through the video in order to actually see if anyone has any interest in wanting to know how that deck is built. But just so you know, Psychic Disaster. Well, not Psychic Disaster. What would be a much more epic term for it? Psycho Pyro. Yeah, there you go. That might be lame for anybody else who probably hears it. Well, anyway, that's my deck. I like to call it Brawlers. And there you go. Have a good one. Like, favorite, subscribe, and all that lovey-dovey happy bullshit. Have a good one.